Okay, so this is the important part and the stuff I really want you to kind of work super hard on. So we're going to look at another different type of question. So far in criminal psychology, we looked at how a study links to a theory, and we did that for what makes a criminal. We looked at the brain stuff. Before Christmas, we looked at the C questions, which are the application and the strategies, and you did that before Christmas, and they were really good as well. But now we need to kind of look at the kind of B questions, which are the evaluation ones. So this is a bit more challenging, but it's a really nice kind of topic to do the first one on. So that's why I want us to have a go at doing this today. First of all, because I think this topic is really nicely accessible to doing this. So this is a new question, but not crazily different to the mental health one. So they are 15 markers, okay? So you get 2 marks for defining stuff and then 13 marks for doing it. In the exam, you'll have about 18 minutes to write this. I'm looking for 3 chunky paragraphs, okay? Remember in mental health, we kind of talked about 2 for 10 marks. Now we're talking about 3, okay? So these will be the words that they will generally start with. So evaluate something, discuss, which means both sides. So does evaluate really, like strengths and weaknesses, assess, and to what extent. So stuff that we looked at those and started those with kind of mental health. So what kind of these are the kind of what questions can be in. So it could be evaluate, discuss methodological issues. So that's like all about the research. Okay, so that's quite nice, and we're going to look at one like that. Or you can have a really specific question about any of these kind of debates and stuff that we've been going on to. We've got to get to these. Okay, we're going to concentrate on the kind of the more likely and kind of nicer ones to start with, and we'll move on to the harder ones, the more comfortable we kind of get, and I'll kind of plan on what topics they're kind of really good kind of to do. So we're going to look at some validity and reliability ones soon. Yeah. Okay. So here are some of the past paper questions and specimen paper kind of ones. So we're in the dark blue ones at the top. So assess the ethnocentrism of crime prevention. That was horrid. Discuss the validity of research. Discuss methodological issues. Discuss ethical issues. So they can be really specific. We can't really plan them, so we have to know what the debates are and then come up with the answers. And that's why we've done the debates before we've kind of tackled these questions in kind of more detail. Okay, so some are harder than others. There's no 2 ways about it. Okay, and this is where we've got to get to. This is the aim for the next 4 or 5 months, is just to get this done, nail this. Okay, so we've got loads of time to kind of crack on with. So, do you need an introduction and conclusion in these essays? Because those of you who do big essay subjects, and like, you will always have them, and it's just good practice. Then you're not really going to get marks for them, especially, but they're really good practice. Okay, so the introduction will just have that nice little kind of definition of what you're going to talk about. So if you're going to talk about reliability, define reliability. Okay, and obviously at the end, sum up. Especially when it says assess or to what extent, you've got to try and make kind of our judgments that we were doing on our mental health questions. Okay, so that's kind of really important. So the structure of paragraphs, we're good with PEE. We've done this for 1.5 years now, and in mental health I introduce you to however, and then explaining and evidencing the other side. And this is what we've got to try and do. We've got to try and get these PEs kind of done. This is what's going to get you the good marks. If you don't do the howevers, you're going to get capped at 8s and 9s out of 15. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying we're aiming for more. Okay. So this is kind of what we've got to kind of practice. So where we can, we've got to try and put a different slant on what we've just said. So if we're saying something's good, we've also got to say why it could be seen to be bad, and vice versa. Okay. And like I said, we need 3 of these minimum in a question. But it depends on time. You've got 18 minutes, okay, in exam conditions. So 2 tips for you, okay. We've worked on this top one for ages about linking to the topic. We're not evaluating the research per se, we're evaluating the topic. So even though we're going to use, in this case, Hall and Player for all our work, we're not saying this is good for Hall and Player, we're saying this is good for collection and processing of forensic evidence. Okay, so that's how we've got to phrase it all. And always refer to the question in every paragraph. Okay, the examiner is going to go, right, you're answering the question directly. So it's just a starter. So a good thing about the methodology used, or a weakness of the validity of, that's the type of thing they want you to kind of talk about. Very simple, but needs to be done. So this is an example of a P paragraph, okay, that I've, as always, badly wrote on this topic. Okay, so I'm talking about the methodology. I'm saying the sample's good. Okay, because in Hall and Player, for example, you said 17 Met Police fingerprints, which is good. Okay, and then at the end, this is a strength to methodology into biases and collecting and processing of forensic evidence as results about what could potential bias forensic specialists could be directly generalized to forensic specialists because they used them. Okay, so that's my P. But what would be my however here? Okay, if you have a think about it, I think my however will be that we're only talking about forensic fingerprint people here, or only London. What about other bureaus where they're doing this? Okay, so again, we're not specifically saying about Hall and Player, but we're kind of saying, look, this research only looks at one thing. Can it be general? Can it apply to other things? Okay, so it's trying to pick topics that you can do it however from. So this is the question. Okay, this is the bog standard simple question, and I know it's not going to sound overly simple. So discuss the methodological issues involved in researching the bias in the collection and processing of forensic evidence. So that's the question title. Okay, so you're now going, Kevin, what the freaking hell does methodological issues mean? And this is what it means. Okay, it's looking at all these headings that we've used to evaluate things on. That's what we mean by methodological research decisions. You'll see I've added some debates here. Usefulness can be used, but you've got to be careful because it's got a link to the methodology. But if the methodology is scientific, you can use that. I've put in psychometric tests because we'll use that more later on down the line, but it's one that we can kind of use. So they're like the posh psychological questionnaires. Okay, they'll be used more in sport and child than criminal psychology, but they still apply. Okay, so we can choose any of these headings, okay, to do these questions. So what do I want you to do? There's two aspects here. Okay, the first one is I want you to plan your essay. So I want you to kind of write P-E-E-H-E down in a line, and then then just briefly write what you're going to say. I want you to send me this plan. Okay, like I said, I'm just going to be here, and I will then tell you which one I want you to write. Then once you've got that from me, because I'll get back to you straight away, I want you to write the introduction and that first PE. The introduction, you can talk about anything that you would talk about, but you're only going to write that first one, and you're going to send that to me, and I'm going to comment on it. An example of a PE, it can just be this simple that I want sent to start with. Okay, so what we just talked about, but there's a two-stage process. Send me your plan. I'll tell you which one to write, because depending on who you are, I'm going to give you a different kind of level of difficulty of one to kind of do that I think you'll be able to do on this first instance, but I'm not going to go too crazy. Okay, if you are having difficulty, send me what you've done. Call me. I'm not going anywhere until 12:15. Okay, apart from get a cup of tea. So get it to me. Okay, and once you've done that, there is just a little bit of reading ahead for next week. Okay, read all about witnesses and suspect interviewing, please. Okay, so that's today's 3 hours. Should be more than enough work to do. This is what we would have done in lesson. We would have done exactly the same, but only giving you a set amount of time for stuff, and you would have just had to finish all that for homework as well. Okay, so if you need me, you know where to call me. If not, I shall see you next week. Yes, maybe, hopefully. We'll see. Have fun. You know where I am.